750 years before Jesus, and he only did 1/3 of the book dealing with the head, the neck, the brain. Do you know what the Africans were doing? They had mapped the insides of the brain. They knew the locus in the brain where auditory information was being processed. They could test the pulse. Europeans, the Greeks, were not able to do this until 1,000 years later. Yet, when you read medicine, you hear Herophilus, the Greek. He's the guy who first tested the pulse. And when you read about this test, you see it exactly coming from the Egyptian. Now we have, in all honesty, not only for ourselves, but for all mankind, we have to put the record straight. Because that is the foundation of these myths of superiority. If we do not put them straight, the black will always think he did nothing. I've heard them. I heard my brother say we have to start from scratch, let us face it. And we will always have this arrogance and contempt springing from people who have no ground for arrogance and contempt. What we are here to do is not to prove blacks are superior. There are no superior peoples. We're here to establish that equality is no fantasy. It's no liberal cliche or sentiment. It is rooted in hard historical realities. In the world of the Moors came a number of things which are absolutely critical. I spoke to Congress on July the 7th, 1987. I had been called there because a Congressional Overseas Committee was looking into the workings of the Christopher Columbus Quincentenary Commission. This commission had set up its base. There were no Native Americans. They employed no Native Americans, no blacks. This was going to be a big commemoration in 1992 with just the Italians and the Spanish getting honor and praise for this so-called discovery. And as I pointed out to them, first of all, Columbus never put foot on American landmass north or south. He only stumbled into the Caribbean. On August the 7th, 1498, 3 of his ships landed in South America, but he did not come off the ship. He said he had arthritis. And he sent message home that South America was an island. Just as earlier on the second voyage, he sent word home that Cuba was the continent. Just as on the first voyage he came back to say that he was off the continent of Asia, and that the Caribbean was the Gulf of the Ganges. This is the man that we're celebrating in 1992 because he discovered us. He discovered America, thank God, because that enabled them to drag us out of the bush and bring us here and put us in a good footing. Taught us how to dress and how to speak properly. The absurdities, the lies upon which a whole civilization have been built. How can one sleep at nights? How can one call a civilization Christian when it is built upon grave immoralities? It is not only us, the black, the white cannot sleep properly if a civilization is built on lies. Therefore, we've not only come here to save ourselves, we've come to save the world. Because to expose these fictions is absolutely vital. As I pointed out, Mr. Columbus was using a caravel. Do you know what the caravel comes from? Both Columbus and Vespucci caravels. The caravel comes from the Moorish caravos. The instruments on their ships, the compass, the Moors had brought in the compass. It had been refined, or rather earlier it had been brought in, though they were to refine it further. The astrolabe had been brought in out of Asia, not out of Europe. The sails on the ships of Columbus and Vespucci were Arab Latin and Africans were using on the Indian Ocean.